Continue. Want to welcome everybody here. Uh, just to note that Bonnie Ernst is here present. She's the alternate for Lucia Casanovo, who will be on vacation to Italy, lucky her, for 2 months.
Wow.
So we'll be having Bonnie step in. First thing on our agenda is a roll call, so I'll go ahead with that. And the first person is Aline Villa, Chair, present. Secretary, Councilmember Varney,
Here.
Councilmember Lucia Casanovo's alternate, Bonnie Ernst,
Here.
Councilmember Dury,
Here.
Councilmember White.
Yeah, and I need to note that underneath your picture, we have Charles Varney's name.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what's happening.
It's
Two
because,
Charleses tonight.
well, yeah, so I think it's because we sometimes I host and sometimes he hosts, and so I don't know,
Okay,
something like
no
that.
problem.
All right, and so next on our agenda, we have the flag salute. Do I have anyone who wants to lead the flag salute? Not, I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands, one
one
nation,
nation, under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
Next on our agenda, we have public comment for items not on the agenda. Again, it's public comment for items not on the agenda.
I think people will have to indicate by raising their hand or something that they want to speak and
Yes.
unmute them.
So please raise your hand or click on the
Click on the hand.
reactions, and then that'll give you your hand there. At the bottom of your screen, all the way to your right, there should be a reactions tab. Being none, I don't see any public comments, so we'll move on. And we have presentation. I don't believe we have any presentation unless there's a surprise presentation I don't know of. And so next we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the review and approval of minutes. And I did send the minutes and I did see that at least one person acknowledged receiving them. So hopefully everyone received them. I'll give you 30 seconds or so to review the minutes and I'll have someone motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve.
Second,
Barney moved, White second. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Minutes passed. We'll then move on to our business items and we have new business. The first item we have here is the Oceano County Airport Campground renovation and parking lot rehabilitation and utility relocation. Kind of a long name and title. And the reason I put this on our agenda is because the county did send us their referral and they wanted like our input ASAP, like in 14 days. So that gives us like 10 working days. So that's why I put it on here. And I did not include the package because we did not get like a package, a regular normal package. We got the form explaining what it was. And I thought that, this will be more like a discussion and about the comments we want to include in this. So if I could have someone start the discussion, that would be cool.
Can I speak real quick? To recognize that Courtney Johnson is in our audience and she is with the airports. If I know that's the same Courtney Johnson. So I wanted us to know that when she raises her hand, she is representing the airports.
Okay.
My understanding. And then second, that if we wanted to explain to people that what our goal is to open the floor for 2-minute comment so that we'll have some input from the public as we deliberate. Then we'll deliberate and then we will give it back to the public for another additional minute if they wish to have it, to then expand on anything that we've discussed before we make a final determination. so that that's the most fair, democratic way to involve the public and give them their 3 minutes,
Thank you.
but also know what we're deciding as well. So I just wanted the public to be aware of that, and maybe if we could unmute Courtney to confirm that she is that Courtney Johnson.
Yep, it is me. This is Courtney Johnson, Director of Airports.
Okay, did we want to leave her mic on maybe since she's representing the airport?
I think so.
Okay,
I just warn you, I have 3 kids at home, so if you want to leave me on mute, you might hear some children in the background.
you're welcome to mute yourself then.
Okay, well, the first hand we have up is Jolie Lucas. Let me unmute you, Jolie,
And I'm starting our 2-minute timer just so people know.
just a second.
When they start to speak is when I start it.
Mm.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for giving me a few minutes to talk. My name is Jolie Lucas. I'm the president of Friends of Oceano Airport, and I'm also a vice president of the California Pilots Association. And I just wanted to do a couple of things with my minutes of speaking. One is to first remind you all to please come and join our event this weekend at the airport. Friday night, we have our Beach Burger Fry and Dance. That's from 5:30 until 10 p.m. And then on Saturday is our Oceano Airport celebration. We've been doing an annual event since 2009. And this is our salute to veterans. It is from 8:30 until 2:30 in the afternoon. Free admission, family friendly. We are collecting items for military care packages as we've done in the past. And if you are a veteran, an active duty service member, law enforcement, or first responder, you get to eat for free on Saturdays. So on our Saturday, we have a pancake breakfast, and then we also have a lunch, and we've got some live music going on. And all the events take place in our campground. And so I know the campground is the subject of some of your comments and concerns. And so it would be nice for you to be able to see how we transform our campground for our community events. As many of you might know, the airport is a gated airport due to FAA requirements and such, but during community events, it is open to the public, and we love to have our visitors come. We have people flying in from all over California, as well as we've got some folks coming from Nevada as well. So please come and join us this Friday and Saturday at the Oceano Airport.
Thank you.
Layton, you're muted.
That was perfect. 2 minutes. there.
Yes, exactly.
I
Thank you.
have Julie Tackers, the next speaker.
Go ahead, Julie.
Good evening, I'm Julie Tacker, and I really just had some questions about the project, and I hope to hear answers through your deliberation and the Ms. Johnson's comments. I would like to know the source of the funding for the project and how much it costs or estimated costs. Because I don't think that airport generates enough money to do what you're planning to do here. Is there a sinking fund? Where's this money coming from to do the work? The other question / concern I have with regard to renovating the parking lot, which I totally agree needs to be done, is that you may not be aware, the airport people might be aware, but maybe they're not aware. Pismo Beach,
1 minute.
City of Pismo Beach is looking to that parking lot to possibly put in a well associated with the Central Coast Blue project. That's the turning wastewater into drinking water project. So I wondered if you would have some conflicts there. Certainly wouldn't want them to come in and rip it up after you've renovated it. And then I just have a fundamental feeling about camping for a few.
30 seconds.
I don't own an airplane. I know a few people who do, but I have never been invited to camp there. And this is a public property. It's not a private property where you can pick and choose who camps there. So there's some fundamental problems with a private campground on public property for me. Thank you.
Raise your hand if you want to speak by clicking on the reactions button at the lower part of the screen and raise your hand physically. Okay, Courtney Johnson.
Jeff is actually next.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't see that.
Oh, I see him on my top left corner.
Okay, Jeff Edwards, you're unmuted.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Jeff Edwards, and I'll take just a minute to pose a couple of questions for the airport director, and then I have some commentary. So the first question is, what's the impetus for this project? Is there a current occupancy level that would justify these improvements? In other words, is there a real demand for improvements and added amenities? And ultimately, will they be used? Is there some evidence of that? The other question I had is, how are these improvements, how do they relate to the other airport projects that are contemplated? For example, the taxiway widening and some other lighting and on airport improvements. So how do they relate? And I think those other airport improvements are funded through the airport improvement program of the FAA, and perhaps these campground improvements are funded through the same source. So those are my questions. My commentary is that this project, this campground project for a handful of private pilots, typifies the disconnect between L52 uses or the lack thereof and the needs of the residents of Oceano. It's a disconnect. It exists today and it's existed for quite some time. And so I think this is just a small project, but it goes to the more central question of how the use of this airport property benefits the community. Thank you.
Courtney, you're unmuted.
Thank you. So if there's any more comment, I would just, I can,
Carl has his hand raised.
Okay, well,
I can wait until the end, or if you guys would like me to respond in between comments, you guys let me know how you would like it to go.
I think it would make the most sense to have everyone ask their questions, make their comments. Then we bring it back and have then Courtney maybe answer what she can and we talk some more and then go from there is my suggestion.
Okay, sounds good.
yeah, okay. Teresa, you're unmuted.
Yes, my name is Teresa Redondo and work with Jolie Lucas. This project, Salute to the Veterans, has been a very, in my opinion, very successful because we recognize the ones that have been serving, this great country. And without them, we don't have what we have. This airport is also for my clientele that, arrive to Santa Maria, drop it off their plane, or they come pick it up the plane and they go and spend the weekend with their families in the Oceano Airport, or I always push my customers to go into that airport and have a use for, because of bicycles and because the campsite and all of that. And I don't think we should consider that a property that is being allocated for only few people that has planes. But I think the city or the South County has promoted enough, the great thing that we have in Oceana, which is the airport.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Carl Johansson, you're unmuted.
Okay, am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Oh, good. Well, my brother-in-law and I just arrived here. We come up here and we camp at the airport, we're private pilots. And this is a gem to be able to come out here, and we spend probably $500 to $1,000 on a weekend between renting a car. We have to go to SLO to get a car. We just did. And then the restaurants and so on. We frequent the restaurants in Pismo Beach and so on. We bring, I'll call it revenue to the businesses here in town. And we enjoy the use of that airport. I kind of object to it being called private. It's a public airport. And the campground is open to people who fly in and use it. And we're willing to pay a fee, especially if they improve it. And it's like Field of Dreams. You build it and they will come. The airport is a gem, and the town should value that. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, Teresa, what? No, are there any other speakers?
Other than Teresa?
Teresa already spoke, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, then Cal Pilots is, 2 people from Cal Pilots are raising their hand. Raise them, and do you see them, Charles?
Oh, okay. Cal Pilot Association, you are unmuted.
Mm-mm.
Hi, I'm Carol Ford. I'm the president of the California Pilots Association, and we represent pilots throughout the state of California. And our mission is to preserve, protect, and promote general aviation airports in the state. And Oceano is extremely important for some of the reasons mentioned, including tourism and economic value. It's not always evident to people in the neighborhood how much economic value is coming in through the airport, because you don't have to register that you've landed and you've gone to your small business, or you have, as the previous person mentioned, spent the weekend and spent a lot of money with different restaurants and renting a car, et cetera, et cetera. That's not always visible, but people who come into the airport buy gas, spend money at restaurants, and do other things, which is a multiplier effect, which helps the whole economy, but isn't always recognized. So that is some of the items in value. You have to understand there's also the NIPIAS, the National Plan for Integrated Airport Systems. And that's all the airports
45
throughout the,
seconds.
thank you. That's all the airports throughout the country. They work together synergistically, because you have to have more than one airport. If you are in an airplane, you take off from one, you land at another,
Sure.
maybe you land at another one on the way. And so it's very important to have healthy airports throughout the country. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question? Your name so that I can notate it?
Thank you. It's Carol Ford.
Carol with an E or no E?
No E.
No E. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Okay. California Pilots, whoops.
Yeah, you had it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Andy Wilson. I'm on the board of directors of California Pilots Association. And one of the problems is with the public use, just exactly how much access the public has to any airport. You probably, in traveling commercial flights, you understand the limitations of public, the public has access to the aircraft to fly. The same way here, after 9/11, the FAA and Congress established the fact that all airports are closed and they're gated. So no one can enter unless they're a pilot and have the access code. You can, of course, access an airport by flying into the airport. You don't go through the gate. So I think there's a misunderstanding there as to exactly who has the right to have access to the airport. And the other part of it is that the aircrafts have very sensitive equipment on it for flying, and especially flying under instrument flight, IFR instrument flight rules. So I think on the area of the campground, it's just not an open area to come and go as you please. It's very
30 seconds.
restricted. The other issue is it's simply like the threshold on your house. You have a door, you have a lock, and no one can pass through that threshold unless you're authorized, invited in. And that's kind of where we are with the airport. And again, my name is Andy Wilson. I'm on the board of directors of Cal Pilots.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Rhonda Cardinal. You can unmute.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Cardinal. This is my husband, Jeff Cardinal. I want to echo what was just said is, you know, we used to be able to just walk onto Oceano Airport and enjoy it. So all this gating and access issues, that's just since 9/11. Airports are a great resource for people, and we've camped there and we've flown in there, and you can walk to restaurants from there, good restaurants, and you can enjoy the beach. So it's a really, really great airport. We came from Orange County. We were at Meadowlark Airport. Meadowlark Airport is long gone. But a little airport like Oceano. But those are great memories. That's a great place for us to go as pilots, and we really value the ability to be able to enjoy a small town airport like Oceano. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Adam. You can go ahead and unmute.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yeah, Adam Verdon, and I wanted two comments. One is a question for Director Johnson. With the increase in traffic at the San Luis Airport, it seems to me like it's more important that we keep Oceano viable and Paso Robles viable, kind of as reliever airports. Like to get your thoughts on that. And then the other question is it possible to also include in these set of improvements better signage on the interior of the airport, so that when we have aircraft visiting, that they're also directed towards our downtown businesses as well, near the Melodrama and so forth. And that's it. Thank you.
I had a quick question of Adam before he goes away. Adam, are you speaking as a representative of the airport commission that you've been assigned to, or were you speaking as a resident not living in Oceano? Or a pilot, just in general?
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so this isn't an airport land use commission meeting, so I'm certainly not doing that.
Okay.
And I'm a business owner, I'm a pilot. I learned to fly at the Oceano Airport. I was a young kid on a bicycle that started taking lessons there and washing airplanes. So that's my connection to the airport on a personal level, if that's your question.
I just wondered in what capacity you were speaking, because you do wear a few hats. That was all. I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Anybody else that wants to speak before we go to Ms. Johnson? Yes, okay.
There's a
Yeah,
Julie.
Julie, I see you. Go ahead.
There you go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm just a pilot that flies in as well, but I'm also a member, longtime member of the California Pilots Association. And I've been flying for over 50 years. And I belonged to an airport back in 1980 and had been there for a couple of years at Morgan Hill Airport, which was closed. And once it's closed, it's done, it's final, and it's an end. And I think that Oceano, just like Carl was saying, it's a jewel. It's a jewel in your community. It's great to have an airport in every community, and not every community has this. And there are things to be said about rescue, fire, and first responders that can use this piece of land as a runway, as an airport, for not just leisure. But I just wanted to kind of make that point go forward. And also, it's a great little airport for helping the community with restaurants and motels and hotels. I'm not really a camper, but I've certainly flown in there. I'm a good friend with Jolie Lucas, and it's a little jewel that you just don't want to see go away. Too many advantages there.
Thank you.
And yeah. My last name is Clark, if you wanted to write that down, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Any other speakers before Ms. Johnson goes? All right, Ms. Johnson, unmute, please.
All right, I think I captured all the questions. So if I did not, please remind me. I'm typing as fast as I can.
And no, you don't have the time restriction. You're here to help represent.
Perfect. I can be here all day. Okay, so source of funding, which seems to be a common thread on some of the comments. So as I stated in the article that many of you probably read yesterday, we are an airport enterprise fund. And so as the county of airports, that is not specifically Oceano, where our funds are separated out from SBP. So as a county-wide airport system, we have our funding based on rates and fees and user fees at both airports that we have available to make our assets better, which is what we are doing in this case. So there are no taxpayer dollars locally going towards this project. And alternatively, there's also no AIP funding through the FAA that are going towards this project. These are all rates and fees that have been charged for our assets that I get the pleasure of being the director for, and we are using them to make this a better place, as many of you have seen. Thank you, April, for posting those photos. It is not in a great condition. Our pavement is in disarray. It has been needed to be improved for many years. That is a lengthy process if anyone knows how the county process works. So we have been working diligently for 2 years, and we are just now getting to this meeting. We've had multiple stakeholder meetings trying to gain input from the community and from stakeholders that use the airport to figure out what they would like to see the airport look like. And we're really excited for this project. Let me look at the next question. So no sinking fund, airport enterprise fund. I think I answered all the funding questions. I think Jeff also asked how this project relates to other projects. So we're also working on all pavement aspects at that airport. We are working on an AIP project as well for our runway and our taxiways and our aprons. This is a little bit lengthier of a process because this does have to go through the AIP system. We just finished a NEPA review last year. So we are working, this will be going through CEQA review as well, probably within the next year. And we look forward to upgrading and rehabbing all of our pavement out there so that this county asset looks great. Parking lot renovation, conflict with City of Pismo well. So I personally have not received a letter from the City of Pismo requesting a well on county property. I will look forward to that letter if that comes my way. But as for the project, why are we doing now? So once again, many of you on the board here took a tour of our airport, which we're grateful for. You can see the condition that the airport is in. You know, in many, my successors in the many years that, you know, they've been running the airports, Oceano has not really been a priority, and that's not how I feel. I think it's a gem in the community, like many of the pilots on this call have noted, and we really want to make it shine. I think it has great potential. And Jolie is Friends of Oceano Airport, puts on lots of public events out there. She does a great job of trying to bring in the community and make them fall in love with aviation like the rest of us. And unfortunately, for many years, she's been kind of cobbling together that campground and trying to make it work. And we're really looking for a community asset that can be utilized. We can do more events, maybe on a monthly basis, getting our educators in there, getting students in there, and teaching the love of flying and all things aviation, because that's what we're really passionate about. I can touch on the public use airport and what a public use airport is, but I don't really think that that's the intent of this meeting. I'd like to really stick to the agendized items. If you guys would like to go into another meeting or agendize what a public use airport versus a private airport is and what public versus private uses of a public use airport means, I'm more than happy to have that conversation and what a public use airport is intended to be used for, but I don't think we should waste our airtime on that when the issue at hand is the improvements. We're not changing any purpose of our campground or our pavement areas than are already being used. These are simply maintenance projects and upgrades to rehab and revitalize what we are already doing and what they are already being utilized for. They take quite a bit of time by way of our personnel for maintaining that campground and mowing that. So we're looking for things that are a little bit more efficient and good for public spaces and public events so that we can bring more community aspects in and use this wonderful airport to bring the community together. I think that's all of them. I don't know if I missed any of them. Please. Adam's questions. I did forget Adam, sorry.
Go ahead, yes.
Increase of traffic. Yeah, I mean, I always believe in a reliever airport. This is part of our countywide system, Paso as well. I've said multiple times, and I'm sure many of you have read or seen, this airport is, essential for emergency services such as California Highway Patrol, Sheriff Aero Squadron, beach rescues, life flight, other agencies that can utilize this restaurant. There are combined interests, but once, like someone said, we are part of the NIPIAS. And the FAA, as part of that system, likes to keep these reliever airports open. They are essential in their eyes. And that also generates a significant impact in our community by way of economic benefit. When we bring people in, they are utilizing the services in our Oceano community. They are dining at these restaurants. They are getting fuel. They are staying at the local campgrounds. They are, they're utilizing all the beautiful services that we have in this community. And we're looking at bringing people in. I mean, we are one of the few airports that are steps away from the beach. And how do you beat that? And if we can make this campground everything it can be and should be, then I expect nothing but positives from that and bringing in more community members. Include signage on the interior of the airport. That is part of the plan, Adam. We're going to be redoing that. So we would like to get a map of Oceano and kind of outlay where all of the special shops are and where all the restaurants are and where people can go, where they can walk, what's great to do. So we're looking at getting something really creative and something that can weather out there well. And we will be identifying some of these great places that we have in Oceano.
Thank you, Courtney. I would just like to say there was one other question that I did notate that I don't think was answered, and that was on L52. What is the frequency of use in terms of, like, are we at capacity now for all rental, for all hangars being filled, et cetera, for the campground being utilized to its capacity, or what are the needs of it? And how are we not meeting?
I mean, I guess I'm a little bit confused. So I thought we can talk about the campground renovation, parking lot rehabilitation, and utility relocation. But so our hangars are full, but I don't think that's a topic of conversation today. As for the campground usage, I would not say that it's full every night, but I don't think it needs to be full to be a community asset and worth investing our monies into.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Are there any questions?
Want to go to discussion amongst the council members at this point, and then we will give it back to the community to give them a 1-minute opportunity to finalize their comments based on what we've kind of hashed out. Charles and everyone. Aline, you're muted.
See that now? I speak and it says unmute yourself. Who would like to start the discussion on our council?
Bonnie, you're in, you don't have to raise your hand.
Okay, I'll be brave. I just want to say again that this is a discussion about the campground and the utilities and the parking. It's not about closure. So thanks for all the comments, but this is what it's about. So I'm going to try to address that. Regarding the camping, let's see, I guess I'll do camping first. I walk past there a lot and I just do not see the usage of it. And it's a big plot of land and I agree it needs upgrades. I'm just wondering if there's any way to design the fencing so that people from the public can get in to part of it, especially bicyclists, because we have bicyclists coming down the coast and we have absolutely no accommodations at all for bicyclists here. And I know it's like the opposite end of the spectrum of private pilots and bicyclists, but if they had a place to go that was kind of quiet and they could get a shower and they could camp, it would give it a little more usage, and maybe there could be a gate that's locked they don't get on the runway. That's just a suggestion. It would just be nice to see it actually used more, because I do not see the usage, maybe because it's run down. The parking, I know you're probably in the CEQA process. Has there been any discussion about making it more environmentally friendly, because it is a flood zone, and to just pave over more flood zone doesn't seem to be really helpful to getting water into the ground. I know we have a Cal Poly group working on bioswale, but I don't know anything about that. But to make that huge piece of ground that's covered with asphalt more environmentally friendly, to get water into the ground. Has that been discussed or thought of? We did take a tour yesterday, and as far as I can tell with the proposed budget with the county, it's something around 1.8 million for the project. I don't think you mentioned that, Courtney. And I was a bit surprised that they were thinking of doing modular buildings for 1.8 million. That just seemed like a lot of money to do a parking lot and modular buildings. So maybe you can explain that a little bit more. I would think with 1.8 million, you could have some nice pilot buildings. So, and I totally agree with Adam. I think that's a great idea. Put some signage up, get some mini menus, get some more advertising inside there. That would be a great idea. So I think that's my mini comments. Thanks.
Thanks, Bonnie. Karen, did you want to ask any questions or make any comments? You're muted. No one's going to unmute Karen. There we go.
Other than just to say I support the project. I've read part of the reports, and I've been to the airport several times, and recently I was at the airport, and I certainly know what the parking lot looks like. And I can't imagine having any kind of open camping in an area where you might have airplanes going down a runway. I think as much as you can separate the general public from airplanes is the way it should go. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Charles or Aline, either one of you
I
want
guess
to?
I'll go next. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I know we have a fairly narrow project here, but the kind of comments that have come in have been much more general in terms of the value of the airport as a community asset, its positive economic impact, and how important it is to the community. And I do have a somewhat different point of view on that. And I very much understand how pilots and pilot associations would be great cheerleaders for the Oceano Airport. And I do have some concern when, from your perspective, you see it as a great asset to our community. And from a community perspective, for people who live here, it's 60 acres of prime coastal property that could support thousands of people living in affordable housing, commercial potential, and parks and recreation for our children. There are no parks in East Oceano for children. There's one park for the entire community. And I think the argument of the big positive economic impact of the airport on people who go buy a burger at Sylvester's or maybe attend a melodrama performance is anecdotal. But even from an anecdotal perspective, on one day during a weekend, we probably have more people driving into Oceano and buying things than people that fly in on airplanes do in a month. That would be my guess. And there has not been any economic impact analysis done on the benefit of the airport to the community. I think we all know that if this was undeveloped land and the FAA came and proposed, we're going to want to put an airport in there, the Coastal Commission would say, no, you're not. So this is a kind of a historical existing condition, pre-existing condition. Over the years, there have been many organizations and individuals who have talked about the redevelopment of the airport for community betterment. Estimates of tax income to San Luis Obispo County from housing and commercial use of that land is estimated at up to $6 million a year, $6 to $8 million a year. Now, there's no way that the existing airport can compete with something like that. So, given that, so I think that's the bigger picture in this community for a lot of people. And when you say it's a jewel, yeah, it's a jewel for you as pilots. I understand that, but it's really not a jewel for the community at all. We have no access to it. We really have insignificant benefit from it. And it's really for a very privileged, economically privileged few who utilize it. And we have a community that is very short on housing and very short on recreation. And for the 7,000 people that live here in Oceano, I hope that you can understand how many of us could have a very different perspective on it. That being said, just in terms of background, I think the question I have, and for Ms. Johnson when we come back on, that I'm concerned that if and when there's a move to change the land use designation and basically get rid of the airport and develop it for the community, that there's a provision that the FAA needs to be reimbursed for any funds that they spend. And I'm concerned about running up that bill. And I wonder if the FAA is making specific contributions to these improvements that they will be called, that we will be called upon to reimburse them for. That being said, I'm not sure at this point what my position is on the improvement project. I want to hear more. I want to hear more people's comments. Thank you.
Eileen, did you want to go and then I'll go last?
Okay, so my comments on this, I'm torn. I'm really torn with this because, you know, I grew up here in Oceano. I'm a native. So it's kind of cool to say that you have a small little airport, right? Everybody's like, you have an airport? And I'm like, yeah, it's a small airport where little planes like land and they can, you know, fly over our beach and stuff. I've never been there. I'm not a pilot. I've never been on a plane from there. So, but it's kind of cool to say that your town has one, a small little airport. But I'm leaning, I lean more, I can see Charles' point, and I kind of have to say that I'm leaning more towards that, um, even though I'm conflicted, because of the fact that Oceano is so like deprived of land poor. You know, where do you build? And if you're here in Oceano and you want to build homes, people want to stay here in Oceano. They love Oceano. Many of them can't afford Oceano. So what happens when they, you know, grow up, go to college, come back, and they can't afford it to live in Oceano? They go and move to Nipomo or Santa Maria, where a lot of my people that I grew up with and even family members have gone to. And even I bought my first house in Santa Maria because it was cheaper. So the fact that we don't have any land and that's a, you know, we could have some housing there. We could have some business. We're a deprived community. We're like, have no money, you know, disadvantaged community. We could have businesses there. We could just have, you know, camping, a lot of camping, a lot more camping, maybe some cabins or something like that. Like, and, you know, where tourists can come and stay in the cabins and stay in their nice tents and stuff, that glamping stuff that's popular right now. There's so many things that could be put on there. So those are my points, and that's why I'm leaning towards that side. We'll see what the community, I mean, I talk to community members and a lot of them feel the same way I do, that they like it, but probably could be repurposed for better use for the community. So those are my comments.
Okay. And then I'll give some of my thoughts and comments, and then maybe we can give it back to Courtney to answer any questions that the 4 or 5 of us raised, and then give it to the public to give their one final minute to interject, and then we can bring it back to us for a final decision. Does that sound adequate? Okay, so I have a few things I wanted to talk about, and we seem to be at a fork in the road when it comes to this issue. And one of them is to bifurcate the advocacy of the airport staying, but that's not even on the table. So I'm gonna not really talk much about that. What I do want to talk about is the projects that are before us, which are under this umbrella. I'm a member of this community. I, like Aline, grew up here. It's my hometown. I've flown out of that airport when I was a child. But as a resident of Oceano who cares about my community, some of the things that were addressed in this project, no one even talks about. The handicapped accessibility doesn't even seem to be a concern of any one pilot at all. But this is supposed to be done for the benefit of the only people who get to use this facility is pilots. So I'm for handicapped accessibility. I'm for the advocacy of the underserved in our community and in our, you know, our community locally and our community in general. So you've gone years and years and years with no ADA compliance, and that never seemed to be a concern for anyone. I am wholeheartedly for that portion of this project. When it comes to the airport parking lot itself, I am all for creating the ADA handicapped accessibility spaces to be clearly marked. Not a one of you advocated for that. I mean, you really showed us what your priorities are. The airport parking lot isn't even open to the public itself, although it is not fenced. And Craig Piper told us that yesterday. That parking lot, while we do, the local community uses it, we do it at risk of having our car towed or, you know, anything. It's not ours to use. It's again yours to use, which is very unfair for our local community. So I would like to echo what Charles and Aline say and promote is that how does this help the Oceano residents? It's been said by non-locals, you know, people who are part of a pilots association, how they bring money into our community. But so far it's been anecdotal stories. I've asked repeatedly to the county and to the airport agency for reports that tell me what money comes in through the airport, and not a one of them can give me that information. Yet the chamber could spout all about the economic advantages of tourism in our industry, but you guys want to attach your wagon to that star, but come with no information that's tangible outside of anecdotal stories. So to piggyback on that, one of the anecdotal stories that I have to contend with as a local is that if you want to bring more tourism to our industry or to our community and people fly in, well, where are they going to stay? Our area in the South County historically has very small amount of hotels, but what we are getting more and more of are vacation rentals of our local homes that now make it unavailable for us locals to live in because they've become Airbnbs for private pilots to fly in and utilize those spaces that fit their needs and not the locals' needs. The children in our community don't have adequate curbs, gutters, and sidewalks to get to school, but none of you come to those meetings or address any of those issues. You're here because in essence, you want to protect what is a private use of public lands that literally it's a park and ride for airplane owners. Like everyone else, I've never camped there. I'll never get to camp there if I don't have the luxury of owning a plane or knowing someone who owns a plane. So the locals use it to fly out of to go somewhere else to spend their vacation money, right? But the people coming in, there is no understanding of where they're spending their money, no report whatsoever. And it's so isolated. Why are they going to San Luis to rent a car when we have a Grover Beach, which is a local city to us, Grover Beach car rental place? So now San Luis Obispo City is getting money. Grover Beach was our next door neighbor, gets no money from that. So, you know, your anecdotal stories benefit you, but they don't sound like they really benefit our community. So that's a concern I have. And also, as a private plane owner, someone like Jolie, I'll use you for an example because you're self-employed and have a career in your industry, and you fly places and you present and you do your work out into the, you know, the world at large. When you're booked for things, you get to write it off as a tax deduction. I get nothing, I get no benefit whatsoever for this airport, but you get it in actual, so does Adam Vernon. He owns a plane, he uses it for business purposes. You guys have a vested interest in kind of a thumb on the scale when it comes to this little local airport that us local community members don't get that benefit from. So those are some things I wanted to really address. I'd like to re-say what Aline said, that Oceano's land poor, but I'd like to add to that and say we may be land poor, but clearly you guys have demonstrated that we're private plane owner rich, and that is not benefiting our community. But in the end, we're here because of this project, and I support handicapped accessibility. I support a better parking lot that's safer, that's ADA compliant. I support maintaining the property and making it nicer for use and maintaining the asset that the county owns, that it's our county asset. But outside of that, all I've heard from all of you is more of a me, and I, and how this benefits yourselves and what you do for fun and for a living versus the community itself. So at this point, we could give it back to Courtney and see if there are any questions she wanted to answer or anything she wanted to expand upon. Courtney?
I have just a moment. I have one
Oh,
more
sorry, Charles.
I'd like to make. And this is in response to what you said, Ms. Johnson, earlier about how basically I think that the Oceano Airport had been ignored, and you know, maintenance had not been, it had kind of fallen behind. Well, you know, the community of Oceano knows what that feels like, because we've been ignored for decades. Almost 30 years of studies of the lack of infrastructure in our community, in terms of curbs, gutters, sidewalks, flood control, lack of parks, lack of streetlights. We know what it's like to be ignored. And I think that the overall, and I understand that you have a specialized narrow interest. As pilots, you want this airport. But I think that the push to maintain this is another example of really the needs of Oceano being ignored. And in this case, by the vision of the airport district. I'd much rather you be coming and talking about how you'd like to work with us to well, and if and when it comes to it, on a process to transition the airport out. And I know that's kind of a unrealistic statement, but I just wanted to say it for the record. So thank you. So would you like to go to Ms. Johnson again?
Yes, and just so Carol understands, Carol, we will be coming back to the public once Courtney answers and responds. You guys will get another 1 minute each for whoever wants it, and then we will make our final determination. So Courtney, you're muted. There you go.
Thank you. So I'm trying to take in the council's comments and formulate a response, but I'm looking over here at Julie Tackers. No one's talking about closing the airport. And I would say the majority of the council has been talking about closing the airport. So I'm having difficulty as this is not agendized. I mean, I can sit here and promote airports all day long, but I don't think that's what we're on here to do. I can respond to some of your comments. Of course I can. So starting at the top, Charles, it seems like your concern is that maintaining the asset that we have now, that's under my authority, is a concern for you because you would like us not to invest in the community asset because you would like to close it, and you're concerned with the monies put into the airport for fear of having to pay them back if you succeed in closing down the airport. Am I correct?
Yeah, in terms of the FAA dimension of it.
Correct. And so this is not AIP funded as previously stated. This is enterprise funding only. There are revenue use policies around using monies that we do earn through the enterprise system. But this is not something that, let's say, if the airport closes down, that would be a money that would be considered for reimbursement. But I'm a little bit shocked that that's the concern. I mean, if it was an FAA AIP project that would require, you know, FAA funds, I'm a little bit concerned as a community member and, you know, as part of our region that you would shoot down the idea for fear of having to pay those monies back in the event that there is a closure of our airport. But to move on from that, there was an actual question. So design fencing so the public can get in and bicyclists. So once again, this is a public use airport, but it is intended for landing, taking off, surface maneuvering of aircraft that is publicly owned. We are a public agency, but we cannot cater to the needs of bicyclists in the community. There are campgrounds surrounding your community that everyone is welcome to go stay at. We are unable to use our funds for a community purpose other than a public use airport, which is what we are doing. As April said, I think advocacy about the airport staying open is not on the table. So I do appreciate we are trying to make our pavement better. We are, I believe, in compliance right now, but we are using things like porta potties to be in compliance, and we're trying to make our facilities nicer. As to the, let me look at that, 1.8 million for the project and explanation of the cost. So right now that is the way the county funding works. When we create budget, we have to make estimates. And so we are creating estimates, but we don't actually know or have the costs realized since we are in the design process. To the comment on the flooding in the parking lot, that is something we are concerned with as well. And our engineers are working on a design that would be sustainable and not create flooding. We do know that is an issue. There's going to be grading issues and there's going to be drainage issues. And we are working with our environmental groups locally, which is why we're having this meeting today, to make sure that we are addressing all these concerns and that it is safe, handicap accessible, and not flooding, because no one wants that. I know that's been a big issue. How does this help Oceana residents? Anecdotal stories. So, I mean, once again, I think if we want to have a meeting on the benefit of general aviation airports, we can have that meeting, but I don't think that's what we're addressing today. Gutters, sidewalks, and roads. Why are we not on those meetings? So, as many of you know, my authority begins and ends with all things airports within the county system. As a region and as someone that cares about the Oceano community, I am in agreement with you completely on needing these things. I think the approach to that would be working together as a team. I think historically, we're on different sides of the fence and we haven't been working together as airports. If we're going to be building up this infrastructure and bringing in more tourism, which is our goal, and creating an economic driver for the community, then we can work together, because those are things we're going to need as well. If people are renting bicycles at our airport, we're going to want them to have a sidewalk. We want kids to be able to walk safely down your roads. But I mean, I'm assuming you guys know my authority begins and ends with airports, but as an advocate for your community, of course, I'm more than willing to advocate on that behalf, and I can help you in any way. I think I've answered all your questions, but I think a lot of them are just statements in general that, you know, we're not going to let, sorry, let me go back. I am not going to let this campground deteriorate and not perform maintenance necessary for fear of funding that's going to need to be paid back. This is an asset that I am in charge of and I have authority over. We do need maintenance. I'm sure you saw those parking lots. They are failing. They need rehabilitation. They are unsafe for our community, public or private or otherwise. They need maintained. As for the modulars and why we're selecting those, it was the community support. They have some with showers. They are, you know, more easily accessible. They're lower on the budget, so they are not as expensive as building a brand new building. So we are trying to be a little bit economical in that respect. So the modulars were a great alternative to what we have now today. The building we have now does not meet seismic standards, so we will be tearing that down as soon as we move our electrical vault and get these modulars in place that will be ADA compliant, accessible, clean, and available for use. I think that was all of it. Am I missing? I'm trying to type as you guys are talking, but I was getting lost between question and statements.
No, I think that's great, Courtney. I think you covered up and answered some concerns that we had, et cetera. We'll let the public have their 1 minute each, and then we'll talk about it and come to our conclusions.
Okay, Julie Tacker, please.
Typical OAC meeting, worthless opinions from a local echo chamber. These are the messages that are being provided to us from the general public. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thanks, Dave.
So I will start the 2 minute or 1 minute timer. Go ahead, Julie.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Madam Chair, I might go over 1 minute. I hope you will give me that luxury. I'm flabbergasted at the price of the project, $1.8 million. And you don't even have a bid yet, so it's going to go up. But I'd like to know from Ms. Johnson, speaking to the stakeholders, how does one become a stakeholder, and can I be on that list of interested parties? Why only 14 days to respond to this this referral? this is being, if this has been a couple of years in the works, why so little
10
time
seconds.
for the community to participate? The benefits or detriments that the airport has, and again, I'll ask for a little more time, Ms. Villa. The benefits or detriments that the airport has to the community really cannot be measured because nobody's taking a poll. Nobody's tracking the restaurant use or hotel use or car rental. There's no car
15
rental
additional seconds.
in there. In Oceano, there's no car rentals available. But my
5 seconds
what
left.
the community needs to understand is the constraints that the airport impedes upon the community. No 3-story buildings, no hotels, no more motels, no affordable housing that would be in multiple story buildings are really allowed anywhere around the airport.
Just 15 seconds
Thank
left.
you,
That's
thank
it.
you, thank you, Ms. Tacker.
Yes, thank you.
Next up, I see Teresa.
Go ahead, Teresa.
I'm glad that I heard what Courtney has to say. It's one thing that I believe you guys keep forgetting. It's that the airport does have a lot of community use. It's just like, once again, it's not being promoted good enough. We have Toys for Tots. We have like a movie night. We have the veterans. It's always inviting the community to come and participate. And I believe once again that, the engagement is not
30
being good
seconds.
enough. I live in Korea for 45 years. I've seen people from Lompoc. I've seen people from Paso Robles. I've seen people from all over the place coming and help to have this beautiful airport to put it to use. So I'm here, whatever you
15
guys
seconds.
need, give me a call.
Thank you, Teresa.
Next I'll go to Jolie. So let me get you here. Okay.
Again, thank you for giving me a chance to speak. I disagree sharply that Friends of Oceano Airport and our airport is not a community partner. We have Toys for Tots since 2009. We are the largest Toys for Tots event in San Luis Obispo County. Because of our event every year, the kids in the 5 cities and our toys stay in the 5 cities get 3 toys instead of 2. We have Girl Scouts with Wings.
30
We've had
seconds.
science camp. We've had Boy Scouts there. We also have our veterans event, which Teresa spoke about, which is Saturday. I would invite you to come, where we engage with our community and salute those who are serving or have served their community. Family movie night is in August. It's free. We advertise to the community. We get several hundred folks that come to enjoy our campground. So talking about making the campground a safer place to be is really fabulous. And one final thing is that we inspire the love of flight, which really gets kids and even adults in just lit up about STEM concepts, science, technology, math. And so, you might say that we don't have anything to do with the community, but the kids who got toys under the tree this year
5 more
was
seconds.
because of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jolie.
California Pilots Association.
Julie.
You can unmute.
So I think this, any opportunity that comes up for people to talk about the airport, you hear all these different kinds of comments, but to close the airport would take another 20 years. So I think what the focus is how to make the improvements, how to move forward, and how to promote the airport for business and get more revenue in. It's my understanding that Empirical Systems has a contract with NASA, and there's an example for you where they're using the airport. Here in Hayward, we have pharmaceutical companies that use the airport on a regular basis. They're drawing more people in. And also, no one's talked about the unmanned part of the aviation that'll be coming up very soon, right now. And you have kids that want to go into outer space. They want to be able to fly airplanes. And I'm sure most of you have heard that the commercial airlines are just crying for pilots. No one wants to be a pilot. So I think promoting that as part of the culture around the airport is very important. And I think that should be the emphasis here. So improving the airport will help you draw that business into the airport. Thank you very much.
Julie with Cal Pilots Association. And then Jeff next after that. We'll get to you, Julie, I promise.
I think it's Carol Ford.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I was saying Julie, but I meant Carol. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so who wants to, are you speaking under the California Pilots Association?
Yes, that is Carol. I just tried to unmute her, but she didn't respond. Sorry.
Okay, would you unmute, please?
Carol. Okay, we'll get to you, Carol. I just see Cal Pilots and I don't see Cal Pilots Association. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
I see it. I just did it. I asked her to unmute.
Okay.
Thank you, because I tried several times and couldn't do it.
No problem. Your time is only starting now.
Thank you. Okay. I know there's invisible tentacles of economic impact. I understand that. We're going to have a report in the future that shows the economic impact of small airports. In the meantime, this helps enhance the value of the airport to improve the campground. Perhaps people don't know that almost 10%, 9.7%, I believe, of the state's gross domestic product is from aviation. And also earthquake preparedness, disaster preparedness, all those things are valuable to have an airport nearby for airlifting people in and out when a disaster occurs, especially, as you know, in California, an earthquake. And the last thing I wanted to tell you is that the unmanned aerial vehicles that the last speaker just mentioned, that's electric airplanes, and all kinds of unmanned aerial vehicles are coming up to deliver packages and people, et cetera, et cetera. And this is the vanguard of aviation for the future, and we want to be on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then Jeff.
Go ahead, unmute if you see them.
I did. I just asked.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Edwards, and it appears that there is absolutely no demand for the proposed camping or the related improvements. And likewise, there appears to be absolutely no evidence that the camping or the airport itself provides any kind of economic benefit to Oceano. It's hardly an economic engine as represented. Then there's the comparison, the misplaced comparison to Paso Robles, that airport. They have two runways, one's over a mile and one's just under a mile. Oceano has one runway that's 0.44 miles. It's less than a half a mile. It doesn't have nearly the operations or aircraft stationed at the facilities. There's no comparison to Paso. And then in terms of community outreach, this is it.
10 seconds.
This is the outreach. Apparently only the pilots were spoken to. Oceano's and EJ community reject this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Love your smile, Jolie.
Are there other speakers?
Lower Jeff's hands. Anybody else wishes to speak? Then bring it back to the council. And there were just a few other little questions.
There's one. There is somebody else.
Sorry.
Rhonda. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Cardinal, Rhonda's husband. We both learned to fly at a small airport like Oceano. It was Meadowlark Airport in Huntington Beach, which is gone. They've turned it into a shopping center, just another general shopping center that they're, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that if you get rid of the airport and just build a bunch of houses and businesses there, it's just everything is so homogenized that you want to have some special places that are not just, you know, just pave it over with more houses, and it'll just be, I don't know, it'd be wasted, I think. That's all.
All right, so bringing it back, Courtney, there were two questions in particular that I'm wanting to know if maybe you can answer. I'll unmute you, sorry. The first one was, who is well, it's a two-part. Who is a stakeholder and how do you become one? And second, why were we only given 14 days to respond?
So
When normally these are like 60 to 90-day responses, sorry.
So I understand that you are accustomed to a 60-day review period for projects under the discretion of the county's planning department.
Okay.
That's not the case with this project. The airport's location is within the original jurisdiction of the California Coastal Commission, and we are applying directly to them for the coastal development permit or waiver. So our referral process is used to document your concerns or community groups or agencies, and it will be in our CDP application, but it is not required in this case because we are in the original jurisdiction of the California Coastal Commission.
Okay, thank you. And then
there's multiple groups. So obviously we have sent you this information as a stakeholder in the community. And as for the campground renovations, they will be the stakeholders of the aviation community that utilize that part of our asset.
Okay, thank you. All right, you guys, Charles and Aline and Karen and Bonnie and myself. Who wants to start a discussion and wrap this up? Anything we want to add?
I guess I'll lead off.
Okay, thank you, Charles.
I think that last comment from Mr. Cardinal kind of summed up the whole thing for me. That you know, us using that 60 acres to build parks, to build affordable housing, to build commercial space for the economic development and well-being of our community. For you to, and for any of you to dismiss that and negate that as something significant in this community of Oceano is, I can't think of a single word. I guess it lacks a certain compassion for us. And I'm going to vote against this project, and I will, and as a private citizen, I will communicate that to the Coastal Commission. I think that my goal is to see this land used by the community for the good of the community, not by a very small group of wealthy individuals for their private entertainment. I would hope that the Toys for Tots would happen whether there was an airport or not. How do Toys for Tots relate to private aviation? I mean, I don't get the connection. These are just all, you know, stories that are brought. I mean, it's a real thing that happens, but I don't see the nexus. And I'm looking at it as a member of this community that wants to see improvements for the whole community of Oceano. So I think any improvements to the airport just add more talking points for when the redevelopment issue finally does come up. And while this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg, and camping spots, enhanced camping spots for private pilots doesn't seem a very good use of county money. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. Karen, did you want to go next? That'd be great. Do you want to unmute? I'll ask you to unmute. There you go. You're open.
I just wish, just for once, Charles, that you would explain how you're going to develop a wetland in the Coastal Commission that is filled now. It's been filled by thousands of tons of sand. It's next to a sewer plant, next to a steelhead stream with seawater rising. How you envision ever developing that into this grand scheme that you have. I just honestly don't understand how that would be done. So you keep talking about this huge project, but it's a swamp. And they put the airport there because it was a swamp. And they filled it full of sand from the sand dunes, which you couldn't do now. And it's not, I don't see how it would ever be developed into anything else. So I think it's a good use of the piece of swamp. Anyway, thank you. And I support the project.
Thank you, Karen. Aline or Bonnie, who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
Okay.
Going back to my comments, as before, I'm conflicted, but I have to go where my heart leads me. I love this community, was raised here, moved for 2 years, came back, moved for 7 months, came to Santa Maria, bought my house there, came back, because I love it so much. And we don't have the recreational area. Kids here don't have a park. We have that small little, duck park. Everybody calls it duck park, community park, but that's just not enough. It would be a great soccer field there. We could have like an open area, not saying so much as like all these homes, but like, some homes, open area for camping, and a nice park where the kids could enjoy soccer, baseball, and all that. So I can't support this project because of that. If the county's going to go ahead and do it, of course I support the, if they're going to keep on operating, it really looked like it needed to be repaved. So yeah, I'm for that. And for the handicap parking there, it's kind of a joke. The whole Pier Avenue, the whole area there is not ADA compliant. There's not even, just one small parking lot there at the end of Pier with only one handicap parking. The sidewalks in there look like third world country, need to be repaired. I liked the fact that Adam said to put signage to go, into town. Maybe a kiosk would be better, highlighting Oceano, because we are a disadvantaged community. We get no money. The county takes most of our, what little revenue we have. A lot of vacation rental, TOT tax, that goes to the county. We don't see it. We can't even afford fire in our small little town here. So I can't support it because of that. And that's what I have to say. Do the handicap stuff and get it complied with, ADA compliant, and make it safe for the planes if it's going to keep, if the county's going to go ahead with it. But I can't go ahead with it.
Bonnie.
Okay, I guess I'm last. And unfortunately, I represent the Oceano Beach Community Association, and we haven't really discussed this much or voted on it much. So it's kind of going to be my decision, I guess. I'm concerned that 1.8 million is a lot for modular home or modular facilities. That just seems like I'm really flabbergasted at that amount, like somebody said. I'm glad to hear that the environmental aspect and flooding will, I hopefully, be taken into consideration, strong consideration for that parking lot. I'm going to trust you on that one. I do like to see county facilities maintained. We just lost the animal shelter to the tune of $20 million because they had to build, they want to build a new shelter. The other one was less than 60 years old. Obviously, the maintenance was totally missing. So maintaining county facilities, they obviously have money from the enterprise funding. I think that's good. I'll just mention a couple of things that don't have anything to do with this, but drones can land on a pie pan. I'm sorry, they don't need 60 acres. And to Karen, if you've ever walked the Bob Jones Trail and seen the Mineral Springs area, which has a floodplain with environmental species endangered, they're getting like $400 or $500 a night for hotels in that floodplain, and they have bike paths, and they have gardens, and they have a whole bunch of stuff. So there's possibilities. Don't discount that. I will vote personally. I will approve this project. And I just hope that the parking lot is done in an environmental fashion, because we are being asked specifically on the campground, the parking lot, the modulars, and that's my vote.
Okay, when we, well, after I'm done talking, then we'll just have our official vote and go from there. So some items that I want to mention is, again, no one came to the defense of the handicapped at all. So this is supposed to be for the benefit of the public. Handicapped people are the public at large. Apparently none of you are handicapped, don't need this service, although that's not important. It really should. It's for the benefit of the community at large, and pilots, everyone can be handicapped and fly as well. So I am for the bathrooms being renovated or fixed in some way so that they're ADA compliant. You can't barely turn around outside of a wheelchair, let alone in one. I am for the parking lot being renovated and fixed, and with the ADA parking being clearly delineated, as it is not now. It's atrocious. The camping, I am for not necessarily revitalization like a great big project, but I am for it being fixed and improved, maintained better. I'm not for artificial turf. We've been given no environmental impact reports to make our decision, which would greatly affect how I would decide on this project. Obviously, we're going before the Coastal Commission, which matters, where I will speak at this issue there as well. But none of you really seem to care about Oceano itself, how Oceano is impacted. And you are the stakeholders in your private enclave that the local residents don't get the luxury of being. So on a purely personal level, I'm so disheartened by you and this project and the use of our county-owned property. But as a person who represents Oceano and handicapped people and people who don't get a say and don't get to make decisions or don't have the ability to even access this meeting, I am for handicap parking. I am for ADA accessibility, and I am for improvement of the campground. So I would ask that maybe we pick and choose as a council what we would like to say we are for and what we say like we're against, and maybe narrow it down to vote for aspects of it, or the council, with your feedback, decide, nope, just a yes or no on the project in general. Again, I would like to add also, the price is egregious for modulars, for showers, so that private people who own planes can come in and wash their bodies for what? If you come in and go to our hotels and utilize and expand our community's economy, then you're going to those places and having showers. I don't know why we have to provide private people showers. I don't understand. But so I would ask Charles and Aline and Bonnie and Karen, do we want to pick this apart and approve parts of it, or do we just want to go strictly as is and say yes or no to the project in front of us?
Any comments? I guess I could go first with my opinion of how to go about doing this. Then everybody can agree or disagree. I was thinking of, like going, like what you were saying, April, like going to each area
three
and
items.
saying, yeah, and saying, are you for the pavement, ADA compliant, all that.
Okay.
And then, in our comments, putting over some of our comments, what the overall group believes.
Okay.
On the EJ issues and environmental justice issues. It's kind of like saying, you guys are going to do it anyway, but as a council, we see this project as being a little overpriced. We see the fact that it's being used by select number
Okay.
of people.
And when we get to that point, we can hammer those out. Bonnie?
Because the county is not asking us to close or open the airport. That was like, that's a kind of a side tangent topic that got brought into this. But it's in my head, I was thinking that, and I'm sure a lot of people here, when I first saw the project and read it, I thought, wait, is this like, are they doing this because they've heard that there's an economic development council in Oceano now, that people actually are starting to open their eyes and care and we've cared, but we've never been empowered. The fact that we're 50%, almost 50% Latino, I think has a lot to do with it. We are just opening our eyes and getting empowered and learning. And we are soon going to have a community survey come out onto what the community wants. And the Latinos are getting empowered and learning. We're doing a lot of outreach in Spanish and in English. So that's the thing,
okay.
We're not empowered, but this is what was in my head. Are they doing this because they want to make sure that the airport stays open for another 100 years?
Right. So let's just ask like Bonnie and everyone else, do we want to do it in the 3 parts, or do we just want to do the project in its entirety on our vote? Bonnie, what is your choice?
I'm gonna follow Aline's lead. I'm too new to get this group.
Okay. Charles, what was your preference? What is your preference?
We spent almost an hour and a half on this.
It's an important project.
Right, and we have 2 other really important things tonight. Yeah, so I don't want to parse it. I just want to vote up or down.
Karen, and you, up or down? Oh, I can unmute you. There you go. Go ahead, Karen.
I think I'm with Charles. I'm going to vote one way and he's going to vote. And 1.8 million, have you looked at the parking lot? I think you guys have all looked at that parking lot. There's $1 million right there. If you think about the cost of paving these days. Anyway, whatever.
Thank you. I like Aline's suggestion where we vote up, down on each component. So 3 votes, up, down, yes, no on the components. And then we create a report that incorporates our comments on the issues that we've raised as a council to submit to the airport, whatever it's called, agency. So that's my vote, is that we just go, modulars, component, up, down, whatever. So it's, and it sounds like Bonnie, you're the deciding factor on how we would vote. So if you say you don't want to decide, then we would go Charles and Aline, or Charles and Karen.
I would go the whole thing.
Okay, so then that's what we'll do. This one project in its entirety, up, down. Charles, do you want to vote? Start the vote. I move that we vote. Second.
Don't we need a motion on the floor first?
That's what I just did. I motion that we vote on this entirety,
Okay,
this project, and then a second on that motion.
I second it.
Okay, and Charles voting?
Wait, we need a motion that says something other than we're gonna vote.
Yeah.
I'll
What else
move,
is before us?
I move that we approve a project in its entirety.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Okay, Aline, do you wanna?
Any discussion?
we
No?
did to death.
Okay,
I just want to add one more thing that, yeah, I'm also in agreement about the artificial turf. That's not, it'd be nice if, where is she? Courtney, if we could eliminate the artificial turf, that's just not environmentally friendly, and I think there's other things to be done. That's all. Thanks.
thank you, Bonnie. Okay, so we have a motion. It's been seconded. Do a roll call vote,
And this is a motion to approve the project.
the whole project. Okay. Councilmember Barney,
No.
Councilmember Dury,
No.
Councilmember White,
Yes.
and Chair Villa. No.
Bonnie?
Bonnie?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 3 no's and 2 yeses. And I will incorporate all our comments, answer the questions and incorporate all the comments.
Thank you.
Charles, do you want to take over? Did my part.
I don't think you
Aline,
have to.
Charles,
What?
the next item on the agenda, Aline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Next item on our agenda, measure A22. Do you want to discuss this, or do you want to have a public comment before?
Well, I think our public is leaving because their isolated issue that only they care about is gone now, except for Greg Morton. Apparently, he does want to talk about this.
Well, so let's just follow the protocol that we
Yep.
agreed upon.
Yep.
We'll open it to public comment on the fire tax A22.
And do it on the 2 minute, then 1 minute.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm ready.
So please raise your hand or wave your hand if you want to speak to this item.
I know Greg did raise his hand a moment ago.
Okay. I see no hands indicated. Or
Greg's is.
He had a moment ago.
I don't even see, who are you talking about?
There's a
Greg
Greg
Morton.
Morton.
Greg Morton, yes, Greg Morton, did you want to speak?
No, I think I've heard, everybody's views or whatever. One thing I would like to say is when I read about the campground and
Wait, we're
Yeah,
done.
Greg, we're on the fire tax now. We.
What's that?
We're on a different topic.
Oh, okay, I couldn't hear. Sorry.
Okay. So I don't see.
I don't think there's any more hands.
Yeah, I don't see any other hands.
Okay. So would you like me to speak, Aline, in terms
Yeah.
of, okay. So I propose that we have this agendized, and I appreciate it being here. I'll be relatively brief in my comments. I think that this A22 fire tax is a big mistake. It is basically, it's unfair and it's unneeded. And it's unfair, first and foremost, because it's a flat tax of $180 on every developed parcel and actually undeveloped parcel in Oceano. And this is the same proposal that was brought up 2 years ago that was defeated. The OCSD had the option to do a progressive tax of 14 cents a square foot, which they would not agree to, even though they were encouraged by many folks in the community because it was fair. So we end up with a tax that favors big property owners, big apartment owners, wealthy landowners in Oceano, and puts a burden on lower income folks. And even lower income folks that live in apartments where the owner will pay $180 for all 20 units. I don't think that's fair either. I think everybody should be paying their fair share. When we learned that this isn't about so much fire services, it's about emergency medical services. And really the system is broke. The idea of having a emergency medical services response modeled on firefighting and medical responders rolling out in $800,000 fire trucks just doesn't make sense. So the tax is unfair and it's unneeded. It's unneeded because Oceano generates plenty of tax money to pay for fire services and emergency medical services in our county. The county said already that with the money that they would have available from Oceano to pay for fire services, they could have 3 24-hour days of service. Now, if you think about it, maybe they could split that into 6 12-hour days during high demand times, which is, again, only 3% of their calls are for fires. 97% is for emergency medical or somebody worried about their smoke alarm going off. The county collects plenty of money from Oceano. In the 2020 and 2021, they collected over $1 million in transient occupancy taxes. And that goes into the general fund. And the county can make a decision to use some of that general fund money to supplement the money that's needed to give Oceano full services. And I think it's time that Oceano stood up to the county and said, we want our fair share. We've been, neglected and screwed over too long by the county. And if we continue to tax ourselves so that the county doesn't get mad at us, we're just playing, we're just playing the victim role. And it's time for us to put our foot down and say, no, we're not going to tax our people anymore. We want the county to stand up and provide the services that we deserve as a unincorporated community. I don't think the Community Services District is in a position to manage fire services. It's clear that Five Cities Fire Authority has failed in their promise that was made years ago when we went with it, that it was going to provide, it's going to be all this cost-effective, economic, effective, lean, mean machine that would provide services. And that hasn't happened. So there are numerous solutions out there, notwithstanding the threats of the county to take over the fire station, take over the sheriff's station. I mean, I heard at the OCSD meeting that the The sheriff's station will be paid off this year and OCSD owns it. So how in the heck can the county come in and take over the sheriff's station since it's Oceano Community Services District building? And if Oceano Services District needs a building to move to, we'll then move into the sheriff's building. Let the county build another sheriff's substation. That's their responsibility. There's lots of possibilities, and we'll never have this discussion if we vote yes on 822. And I think it behooves us as an advisory council to stand up for what's best and economic for our community.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Any more comments?
I'm not a property owner, but I'm a renter. So costs will be passed down to me and the regular annual increase will happen regardless based on my rent. And then now this will add to my household expenses. And so it's not just actual property owners, it's ancillary to the, people who live in the community. We are the least served, least represented, the poor people here of Oceano. And I know that certain rich landowners in our community don't like the fact that we call Oceano economically disadvantaged community. But when you're rich, you can think that. But when you're one of the economically disadvantaged, you actually feel it. And we are economically disadvantaged. So with that in mind, I have heard from people in our community who are homeowners who find this tax to be unfair and not equitable in its distribution of responsibility. And I respect that. I understand that. The people who, have $5 million worth of homes in this community, or multiple homes, or, restaurant properties, etc., they have a financial stake for their own benefit, and those seem to be the ones that are for this. Whereas the ones who will eat it the hardest are the ones against it. And I stick up for the ones who have to eat it the hardest. There are way more of them in our community than there are of the rich. They just have more. There aren't more of them. If Oceano was its own island, they are our 1% and we are the 99%. So I fall in line with Charles. They have been fiscally irresponsible with our money. They haven't lived up to the promises that they have made to us to even create Five Cities Fire Authority on the Oceano side to be a part of the JPA. They're hardly open. Their salaries balloon and their benefits balloon consistently. They barely provide the service that they're named for, which is fire authority, not medical emergency and my cat's in a tree authority, or my smoke alarm went off authority. So when we look at fire and we hardly use fire, our money should be spent more wisely, or not more wisely, whatever the right way to say that is, wiser. So I also am against this on behalf of the community, not on myself. I don't even own a home, but on behalf of the community that I have heard from. They are not interested in this. But the bottom line is the taxpayers are going to vote, the residents are going to vote, the voters are going to vote on this. So our opinion, or how we represent as a council, won't change a voting outcome. In the end, the residents will vote and that will decide what's going on. But as the OCSD and what I represent, the OAC and what I represent as a member of the OAC, I'm voting against this, or not in support of it, because it is not serving the residents of Oceano as promised. Elaine, you're muted.
Bonnie, any comments?
Is Bonnie still here?
I see her name there.
Did she go get a snack?
Maybe. Could be because she's, okay.
Both her and Nick are faceless.
Any comment?
Thank you. Thank you. It was tough getting unmuted there.
There we go.
This is one thing the OBCA did talk, I can't say extensively about, they did talk briefly about, and we didn't really have enough information. The public meeting hadn't been held yet. So we are abstaining.
Thank you. Councilmember White?
I have to abstain.
Aline, are you abstaining or are you?
Yes, I'm abstaining because basically we could just talk about facts.
Okay, and Julie does have her hand raised.
Go ahead, Julie. You can unmute yourself, Julie.
Thank you. Good evening.
Oh, you got muted again, Julie. Hold on.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Good evening again, Julie Tacker. I'm going to tell you a little bitty story. I was a community services district director in 2004 to 2008 in Los Osos. The best thing we ever did in Los Osos, and we've had a lot of turmoil, very similar to Oceano over the many, many years, being the stepchild of the county. We felt it. Jeff and I both see a lot of parallels in Oceano. But the best thing we did in Los Osos was to contract with CAL FIRE. I watched your Saturday meeting a couple weeks ago. I heard, and I can't remember if it was Will Clemens or the fireman that was speaking, that spoke about the brownouts. The brownouts have left you with $1,050,000 a year, and you get 2 days of 24-hour service. Then I'm sure it was Will Clemens who said that the county can serve for $1,050,000 3 24-hour days of service. That right there, one extra day for the same price, you're getting a better deal to go with the county. The beauty of CAL FIRE, and I experienced it here in Los Osos, and I dubbed it in 2004. CAL FIRE is the Costco of firefighting. They have equipment, they have personnel, they have more to offer. They can spread themselves thinner than 5 cities fire authority ever could. You do not have, the community of Oceano does not have a formal quote from CAL FIRE. No one's ever asked for it. No one's ever got it. Apples and apples comparison
5 seconds.
for what you have versus what you want. What you have with 5 cities fire authority is a static, low level of service. What you want is what you can afford from what I see. And if you add $180 per property in Oceano, which of course is unfair because there's many people in a mobile home park and only $180 a year isn't sufficient to fairly serve those many people in the mobile home park, for example. You have to get an apples and apples comparison with CAL FIRE. This is something I said in 2009 to the board in Oceano, and I was scoffed at. I was dismissed, and I have not left the issues of Oceano since, because if you have a problem with getting the facts, then you have a problem with the truth. And that's why I have stayed involved for these many years, and I'm not going away. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your efforts, but get an apples and apples comparison in front of your community for the benefit of all.
Thank you, Julie.
Any more public comment?
No more.
Well, I appreciate Julie's comments, and it is true. We saw it in the meeting on April 30th. The county refuses to give us the information we need about what would really happen if it was defeated. Because they say, well, we're not going to bother doing that until it's defeated, then we'll figure it out. Now, I can understand that makes some sense, but it really doesn't give us as voters a very clear sense of what the consequences of a yes or a no vote is. And it wasn't Will Clemens who said that the county would give 3 days of service. It was the county administrative officer who said that with that money, they could provide 3 days of service. And to get, 7 days of service, there would need to be more money. And that's where my notion comes that, well, we generated $1 million in 2 years in tourist tax. County used some of that money to protect the citizens in Oceano. Do you think if we don't pass this, that you're going to call 911 and they're going to say, no, we can't come. Sorry, you'll have to die? I mean, is that what the county's going to do to Oceano? Of course not. So we need to stand up and be gutsy and stand up for what's fair and for our community. I mean, to me, it's not even an issue. So if there's no further discussion, I'll call for the question and make a motion that the Oceano Advisory Council not support Measure A22.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do a roll call. I'll start with myself. Chair Via, abstain. Councilmember Roney,
No. I mean, yes. A yes on the no.
That would have been the biggest news story of 2022.
Councilmember Dury,
I vote the same as Charles, whatever his official vote was.
Yes.
Yes.
alternate Ernst. Bonnie,
She's
You
muted.
didn't you? Unmute yourself.
I think maybe she's trying to say she can't or something.
Okay.
Got muted again.
What the hell? I'm asking her to unmute.
Yeah, I did that too.
I think that may be the problem. We're all trying to do it.
Okay, I'm not going to touch the buttons anymore.
You do it, Aline.
Okay, ask to unmute.
Okay, is it
There we go.
thumbs up or thumbs down? Or
Representing the Oceano Beach Community Association, I abstain. Thanks.
Okay, Councilmember White.
I have to abstain.
Abstain.
Or I feel I have to abstain. I'm not sure of the law.
Yeah.
the abstains have it.
But the question is, what does abstention mean? It doesn't, in many cases, abstention is defaults to a yes, actually. So what does abstention mean in our circumstance?
Great.
To OBCA, it means we can't vote yes or no. And I did want to appreciate everybody's comments. That was really helpful.
Well, I'm just looking at what fair political practices might do to me. So I'm just
No,
not,
I'm not casting any aspersions on any reasons that you have for abstaining. I have no disagreement with it.
I just think I have a conflict of interest. Okay, there. I have a
And
conflict.
I understand that. My question is, what does abstention mean in terms of weighing it against Charles and I's vote? In general, abstention, like if you're on the Board of Supervisors and you abstain, that could be a yes vote. I mean, it could default to a yes, not because you chose to,
Yeah.
but because it defaults in order of picking something one way or the other. When you abstain from the minutes, let's say from approving the minutes, that's not that defaults to a yes.
Right, you're not opposing it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So that's my question is more, I guess, on the technical side. What is abstention in terms of this moment right now, where we have 2 people that said yes and 3 people who abstained?
Oh,
What does abstention mean?
Julie Taggart just sent us a message that said I should have recused myself.
Okay.
Wrong terms.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie. I was just about to ask if maybe you knew the answer. So I need to, I have recused myself.
Accused yourself.
And that's what I want to do too. And I
Okay,
guess
so your 2 votes don't go yes or no.
Because you're not voting.
We're not
You're not
playing.
voting at all.
We're not playing.
Correct. And then Bonnie, did you want to abstain or did you want to recuse yourself for some reason? And recusing means you have a technical reason, like Karen and Aline represent a whole other agency that has already taken a position. So that's their reason.
The OBCA has decided to not make a decision in either for or against.
So that is an.
We're not supporting or not supporting.
Okay, so
We
you
have-
are.
We have
abstaining and
no
not recusing.
consensus.
So technically, that means we have 2 yes votes, default 3 yes votes, and 2 votes that there is no yes or no attached in any way whatsoever because they've recused themselves for technical reasons.
yes, that's what it is.
So the motion passes.
That's my understanding. Does anyone feel to the contrary?
I think Julie would be the expert here, but
Yeah, unfortunately, she can't run for the OAC. I wish she could, but does she have anything she'd like to add? My chat is really weird. Oh, she has her hand raised. Let me unmute her. Just for the sake of helping us, there's no one here and we just
Yes.
want to resolve this.
All right, so what April just said as the abstention counts as a yes. Charles is a yes, April is a yes, is that right?
Yes, I am a yes.
That's 3, and the abstentions are flat out nothing. They're
Nothing.
nothing.
We recused ourselves.
Recusals don't even count.
Yeah, that's correct.
3 votes in
Yeah.
favor of opposing the measure.
Thank you very much, Julie. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
the motion passes.
Can we hire Julie for legal counsel?
Thank you for the compliment.
Motion passes.
A lot cheaper than Minery.
Yes, and better. So the motion passes. Awesome, Charles. There you go, Charles.
Okay. I won't be running up a big flag that OAC opposes A22, but
We represent the community.
mhm. Okay, I appreciate the civility of the discussion for the whole evening.
The whole evening.
I think it's been, so far it's been a really great meeting.
Now, gloves are off.
Yeah, vacation rentals.
Just kidding.
Oh, no, we don't have vacation rentals tonight, do we?
No, no vacation rentals tonight.
Next week, okay. All right.
It's
So
all
far,
downhill at this point.
meeting. So Should we keep on going? We're going on 2 hours. I don't know if you want to.
I mean, I'm ready to throw in the towel. What else, what do we have to do tonight?
I think number 8 is important.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
The discussion for future agenda items or issues.
Okay,
I'd like to put vacation rental discussion on there.
definitely. Does everybody have a copy of the latest draft? I can't remember when I sent it around. If you don't, let me know. I'll send it to you.
I would like to say yes, please.
Okay.
Bonnie needs to unmute. I just asked her to unmute.
I don't have a copy.
Okay, and I don't know that I do either. So if you could also.
Actually, it's on our website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Takes care of that.
As is the Karen, on our website is the airport redevelopment plan.
Yeah, I read part of it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not too big. It's just a couple pages, I think.
Yeah. The one that the OEDC is coming out with is, no, the one Cal Poly did last year is up there. And it's much more detailed, has the whole flood control plan, the environmental stuff, all the engineering, everything.
Yeah.
So it answers your questions to some degree.
And then did we want to put on officer
Yeah,
changing
so
of the guard next meeting?
yeah, well, that's going to be on the agenda. So
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, that is going to be on the agenda. I think
Okay.
everybody received the email where I said to start thinking about who you want to nominate.
Okay.
Right? We are going to be holding officer elections this year. And be
When
thinking
is that?
Our next meeting is
next Thursday.
next Thursday, sorry, the 19th.
Yes. Our bylaws state that we must.
I'm traveling. I will do my best.
Okay.
So you're running for president?
Yeah, if you're not here, you have no control.
Yeah, so do be thinking who you want to nominate. I will be stepping down from the OAC completely.
Oh.
It's just, I need to work on my campaign and I have a lot to do with my mom. My
So
mom.
when you say your campaign, does that mean you are officially running for the OCSD again?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's news to me. Well, congrats.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we still need people to fill in Cynthia's seat. So make sure you get the word out to community members at large.
know.
It's an at large.
Actually, 3 people, there was a deadline and 3 people applied for it. So were you
Wait,
aware of
the
that? Elaine?
deadline?
Yeah, there's a deadline of May 5th for Cynthia's MPC.
Oh, I didn't realize that the deadline had passed already.
Yeah, May 5th and 3 people
Wait, the
applied for it.
election's not until November.
No, to fill it until election.
I'm sorry, to what?
To fill a lean seat, I'm sorry, to fill Cynthia's seat until
November.
Yeah.
We're the, we're the 3.
Okay. I was wrong on the date. I thought it was the 15th date. Okay.
You know who the 3 might be?
I know it's myself. It is, shoot, a man who lives in a mobile home park over off Highway 1 here. I don't have his name off the top of my head. And then some person that was like last minute on the 5th. I can look that up in the meantime if Karen wants to say anything, and I'll look that up.
Okay. I was just going to say, I didn't know that I would be at liberty to say who was.
It's public record.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I think we make the decision at the next meeting, which is the 25th of the month. So.
Well, when you click on notice of vacancy on the board of directors.
Hmm.
Okay, I got it.
Sorry, the Stephen Montez, Montes is one of the names. I can tell you that. And then there was a man who came in literally like at the last minute. Let's see if I can find one more. I was given it. I'm sorry. I don't have it at the,
No
I
problem.
wasn't expecting to answer this, but those are two. Sorry, Bonnie, go ahead.
No problem.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I'm trying to find it. Oh, wait, I can tell you. Give me 1 second.
No problem.
It is a person named, oh, that's mine. And Gary Hamel, Hamel.
Well, okay. So
And-
who are these people?
Names on an application. That's what I know. I mean, I can tell you who I am.
Well, I know who you are.
I'm the only person who's actually attended OCSD meetings, been on the budget committees when it was open to the public, has actually ran for office, that is a member of the OAC, that is involved in our community at a grassroots level, as a local native. So I don't know those other people.
I don't either. So
Yeah.
I think I heard one of them. There was a guy that was helping out with the video. I don't know if he's just a helper or part of the video crew there for OCSD. I think they said he might apply because he lived in trailer parks. It seemed like a nice guy, but I didn't.
The first name I gave, he does live in a trailer park, Mr. Montez, Montes.
Maybe I just like kind of briefly met him and he seemed nice,
Okay.
but I don't know him.
Well, let's be honest, it's going to be one of the guys. We're not stupid. I know it's a popularity contest, not a
Yeah.
merit contest.
Well, maybe.
Well, Oceano gets what Oceano chooses.
So that seat will be on the November ballot for as a 2-year at-large position.
Correct,
Mhm.
correct.
You gonna take up Dave's offer there, Charles? Thinking about it?
Dave's offer?
Remember he said, when are you gonna run? Oh, maybe he meant supervisor when you were on Dave's show the other day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, that's it.
Okay.
Do we have any other
Oh,
future?
Julie has her question, her hand up.
Go ahead, Julie.
Good evening again, Julie Tacker. Thank you for letting me comment on this. With regard to the appointment over at OCSD, I would ask Karen White and Aline Villa, since you're on that board, that you consider the amount of participation that April Dury has had versus the other applicants, that you'll see their applications and probably not recognize their names. Like I said, I've been involved since 2009. I don't know these two gentlemen, and but I do know April is very involved, participates, researches beyond belief. You would have a huge asset in her skills, her knowledge, and her inquisitive nature. But that seat is at large for 2 years after November. That is a good point to make, Mr. Barney. That is not something to take lightly. But I really think she can keep some continuity because of her involvement so far. Keep some continuity in where the district's going. And I just would advocate for your support as board members on the Oceano CSD. Support for April, and I know both of you know how hard she works for the community. So I'm just going to take this quick opportunity to ask that you support her application to fill Cynthia's seat. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments?
There's an agenda item.
Okay, any more comments? If not, can I have someone motion to adjourn?
So
I'll make
moved.
a motion that we adjourn. I
Second.
second.
I
All,
guess-
all in favor?
We all say
Aye.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you, guys. It was a
Aye.
really good meeting. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Great meeting. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.